Yes, sir. Yeah.
Hey, you guys, this is Valencia Dancer, aka Mother Diva, and I am the Madam Ambassador of House Music, and you're looking at Mother Diva's special segment review. I am here at the Foco de Chayo restaurant in Las Vegas, Nevada for the 35th anniversary of Victory Tour screening. And this broadcast is being brought to you by michaelpriv.com. He's a wonderful author who wrote a book called The Healing Helper's Handbook for you to self-heal whatever your issues are. And I want to give a shout out to one of my other sponsors, Ellis from Studio Referral Services. If you're looking for a recording studio, or if you're a music producer, a DJ, he has contacts and listings of various studios around the world. Go to studioreferralservice.com. So at this time, we have a very special guest who's joined us. He took time out of his schedule. He was the personal protective detail for the King of Pop, Michael Jackson. This is my boy, Mr. Bill Whitfield.
Hello.
And I am so happy to have him here. You know, I was fussing at him earlier because I saw that movie, Searching for Neverland, and I'm like, wait a minute, we're going to have to talk to Bill. So, going back to Searching for Neverland, we were talking earlier off camera. You were a part of the process in terms of production. How much input did the producers and the directors allow you to have on the project?
Well, I spoke to the actor Chad Coleman a lot. We talked on the phone often because he wanted to try to capture as much of my character that we were dealing with and things that we were going through. So we talked much about that. I also spoke often to the director. So they certainly just, reached out to me. It wasn't so much as my
Were you
making.
a part of casting? Did you help cast?
Okay. No. I mean, it would be difficult for me to do that.
Because brother was chocolate and you kind of light brown, you know.
Well, I'm glad they picked
chocolate brother. He did a good job.
They picked someone that's an actor. That's where I've always looked at. I tell people look at the content, not the character of the movie. And so as long as they displayed, a good level of what we endured, or what we even tried to portray, what we went through where Mr. Jackson was concerned. So I think they did a good job.
Okay. So how much of it, in terms of Searching for Neverland, was kind of scripted? Was the whole entire film based on your book, or did they kind of add elements to it? Because there was a lot of stuff left out.
There was a lot of stuff left out.
Yes.
It was initially supposed to be a two-part movie.
Okay.
There was just so much. So where the book is concerned, they just could not put so much content in the movie.
Well, I know the one scene that really had me going was when Randy showed up, and it looked like Michael was ready to run out that door and whip Randy's ass.
Well, he was
he was pretty hot.
He was upset.
Yeah.
And what a lot of people don't know about Mr. Jackson was he reacted, to situations.
He was a real person. He had a temper.
Absolutely. He reacted a lot of times the way we would, just as men, just as fathers. And just the way someone pissed us off. I've heard him one time, which I was with him, and he was arguing with a lady in Barnes and Noble in the bookstore.
He was.
So she.
Tell me about that argument. I love that. He was very argumentative. Lisa said
he will challenge. If you challenge him, he will challenge back. Especially when it comes to.
Did she work there? Or was she a customer?
No, she was a customer, and he was in partial disguise, but you could pretty much tell that was Michael Jackson.
Well, what was the argument about?
She said to him that she didn't appreciate him impersonating Michael Jackson. He's a very good man, and I don't appreciate you impersonating him. And he said, I am Michael Jackson. She said, no, you're not. And he said, look, lady, I am Michael Jackson. If you don't want to believe me, that's your problem. I'm standing there just watching this. Was I supposed to intervene? It wasn't a threatening situation. So I'm just watching how
security issue.
And he looked at me like Bill, tell her. Like, I'm like, yeah, that's Michael Jackson. And she didn't believe me either. She was pissed. and that annoyed him. It really did. So, but it's just the way he reacted to it was interesting to me. But he would react the time.
You know, I try to tell people, although I never met Michael and I didn't know him personally, but I grew up in Chicago.
Okay.
And so Gary's next door, and I pretty much know their story and their journey, and then being the son of Joe Jackson and going through all that. I mean, Michael could get ghetto, he could get hood, he could curse you out, he could do all, and a lot of people just don't believe me. They're like, no, he was sweet and innocent. I'm like, I'm telling you, Michael Jackson was a cusser.
I tell people
he will curse you out if you piss him off.
I often tell people.
Can you verify that?
Oh, he would get boisterous. Absolutely. He would.
I knew it. That's what baby.
He would use some choice words if you took him there. And I've seen him a few times get upset at others. But he would get very vocal about how he
Bill is trying to be politically correct.
Yes. Yeah, he was. I've seen him one time. He thought somebody was getting too close to Paris in a bookstore, and I was facing him, and he was facing me. Paris was behind me, and he thought a man was walking by and got too close to Paris. He almost knocked me down to get to his baby.
Yeah.
He was
very protective.
Very protective.
Did you see the video where they were at the court hearing and the press was like acting crazy, and then his mother was in the vehicle, she was at the wheel, and then Janet was next to her, and Michael he stuck his finger out the window, and he's like, no, he's like fussing at the press. He pushed his mother. I thought he was gonna jump out the vehicle and whoop somebody's ass. He knew martial arts, and I don't think it would have been wise to fight with him, because I think he would kick your ass for real. I think the Gary would come out of him.
People underestimate, as I often tell people, I didn't know the King of Pop.
Right, exactly.
Okay, I tell people that.
You
and
knew
I think
the
that's
real Michael.
Who a lot of fans and a lot of supporters see. And, Mr. Jackson, Michael Jackson, the artist and the King of Pop, the icon. I seen someone's daddy, someone's brother, someone's son.
That's what I'm talking about.
That was the person that I knew and that I honorably protected. So that's.
So, we talked off camera about Miss Romaine Bain, and I'm just very disappointed at the fact that she handled the finances the way she handled it. And unfortunately, Michael had a lot of people around him that were using him, that stole from him. He just had some bad people around him, and that's kind of been like a tradition with just dealing with entertainers and the Jackson family. They have a tendency to have the wrong kind of people around them, and people that don't have their best interest at heart. When you first started working for him, it seemed like you and Javon, at first your paychecks were okay, and then all of a sudden things started to go left. So at what point did payments started being scarce, and the journey with that?
Once we traveled outside of Vegas, we took our first trip out to Virginia. We stayed in a place called Middleburg, Virginia.
Yeah, I saw that.
We stayed at the Goodstone Inn. I was out there for several months. And right around that time is when our pay, but it was everyone's pay. It wasn't just us. It was certainly the nanny, the school teacher. If there was a financial mismanagement, or mishandling, I believe. People often talk about how broke Michael Jackson was. Absolutely not.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling people. He was not broke. What it was just he kept a lot of cash in the suitcase. He, from my research, he even had some investments in other people's names.
Oh, he had.
He had money.
Certainly financial.
Yeah.
Stability. But as with anybody that we put in charge of whether it's our financial or business practices, they have the ability to mess up.
But it just seemed like, Bill, because I always keep it real, and it just seemed like to me that Michael was the kind of man you had to put a little bit of fire up under. If he thought he could hold somebody off, he'd try it. But I think that if you had went to him and told him earlier, Mr. Jackson, I haven't been paid. If I can't be paid, I got to go. Because see, had it been me and Michael would have been fighting.
Well, I'll
I'd
tell
kicked
you.
his ass in that glove too. You gonna pay me my money? I'm from the South Side of Chicago.
Well, once I realized, and I knew, like a lot of emails, a lot of business
Yeah.
handlings went through me, went through my email,
Mm-hmm.
went through directly sent to me. So I was able to see some things to where there were some decisions being made by others.
Okay.
So, hey, he had a huge empire,
Yeah.
and he had people in charge of certain entities of that empire. So we knew it wasn't directly his fault.
Mm-hmm.
We knew that, but there was some mismanaging going
But
on.
at some point, couldn't he have told Romaine, "Look, you get, he couldn't he have just called the bank and said, close the account, change the account, I'm firing her." I mean, there were things. I mean, we say it wasn't Michael's fault, but ultimately he was the boss. Like, he could have fired anybody he wanted to.
How he could have managed-wise or financially did all that stuff was beyond me.
Yeah,
I didn't deal
you
with
didn't get into
that.
that.
I didn't.
Okay.
So certainly he was aware. We've made him aware, and he's even got on the phone directly in front of us and made phone calls and said, "Take care of these guys."
Yeah, I
He
saw
said,
that.
"Take care of these guys first."
Yeah. Because when y'all was in the store at the FAO Schwartz, I'm like, he just put all this money on London McMillan's car. What about their money? And I'm just surprised you didn't say nothing. Like, excuse me, can you tell him to give me my money too?
Well, we still had to maintain a level
Right.
of professionalism, and again, we also knew that he was not only aware, but he was under the impression it was being
taken care of.
So
So at what point did Romaine get fired? Because didn't she eventually get
just
okay.
communications.
And what we were talking earlier, because what really bothered me, and I said, y'all listen, if I ever get a chance to talk to Barack Obama, Romaine Bain, she actually received a Presidential Medal of Honor from Barack Obama a few years ago. And I'm like, how do you go from stealing from Michael Jackson, not paying his employees, to getting a medal from Barack Obama? It is just amazing to me. And you know what? She boss. I mean, all I can say is she boss, because I'm from Illinois. And so being from Illinois and Chicago is a bunch of crooked politicians, and they all hang out in this same circle. And here's a person that mismanaged Michael Jackson, but ended up getting an award. And it really bothered me, because what does that say about the society and the country we live in? We're rewarding bad behavior. And, President Obama probably didn't know, because he didn't have people doing enough research. And I think that's what has happened in our country. We get in our media and our news from social media. People are not fact checking. They're not looking up information to find out what the truth really is. And that's why I wanted to talk to you, because you're a witness. You were there. You knew what kind of person this man was. And you could share the truth, and you could share sides of Michael that, the public doesn't really know. I mean, a lot of people, they don't want to take my word for it, but you didn't really know him. I didn't know him, but I know black men from Gary.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And I know they can be hood, hot sauce, and right. All of that. And I know you probably can't get into it, but I know he had a couple of chubby girls in his repertoire too.
Yeah.
Look, I told y'all Michael Jackson liked the big girls. Bill, you don't want to say.
I'm not going there, no.
But he shook his head, yeah. Okay, he just don't want to get too deep into that.
But I will say, not so much as in the defense of where Ramon stand. Now, she was management. Mm-hmm. And if there was a mishandling or mismanagement of funds, I did realize it went beyond her too. But as a manager, you are supposed to manage.
Right. It was trickled down.
So, but I know she had to deal with the record labels and the sponsors, where the money actually comes from. Mm-hmm. Was it a problem there? Possibly. I don't know. Do I think she was sitting on a bundle of cash? No, I don't think so either. Okay. No, I don't think so. But as you initially blame the manager. Mm-hmm. If something's not going right, you blame the manager.
Right, and you know what? As a fair journalist, I'd have to say I probably would have to have that conversation. There's always two sides to the story, mm-hmm. And so you got the higher ups, mm-hmm. But in the film, it seemed like she constantly badgered him about selling the catalog. And why did that have to be a last option? And it also seemed like, Bill, you were doing more than what you were hired for.
Oh,
You were hired to be a bodyguard, but you emails and family. I'm like, that ain't your job description. How'd you end up going from bodyguard to administrative assistant?
well, when you take on a task of in personal security, it's just that it is personal, and you do handle some personal matters that need to be secured, need to be contained and privacy. So we understood that. We never questioned things that we were doing.
Okay.
We never questioned because we knew. I've been in personal security almost 30 years now, and that's just what it is. A lot of people use say bodyguards. And bodyguards normally just are hired to protect a person's physical being when they go from point A to point B. But we certainly did a lot more than that.
Yeah.
We, on executive protection level as well as on a personal security level, you handle matters that are personal to the client.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the level of trust gets built.
Right.
So you understood your role. Anything you can do to keep the client happy, satisfied, and certainly secure. We just did what we knew what needed to be done.
Now, in the character, your film, in the film, Search for Neverland, your character also was a single father.
Yes.
So, how long did you have to keep up the facade of not telling your daughter who you were working for?
Oh no, she knew.
She knew.
She knew.
Okay.
After the first night.
Okay.
Yeah. Matter of fact, I called her that night.
Okay.
She didn't believe me.
So was there an issue with Christmas and Christmas Eve, like it was portrayed in the film with your daughter and his children?
Yes.
Okay. So how were you able to work it out with her? Because she was probably at a crossroads and didn't want to feel like, my father has to choose between me and Michael Jackson's children. So how did she handle that?
Well, we've been in that situation somewhat before having been in the business. I've been in the business for some time.
And kudos to you being a single dad. That's awesome.
It was certainly a challenging position, especially for a female.
Mm-hmm.
But she was
so
old
sure
enough.
She's a daddy's girl.
Absolutely. But she also was old enough and mature enough to understand. But certainly, as a young girl, she wanted to have that time, which I understood. But she also understood the profession of father was in.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, did the children learn how to play tricks on your Prince Paris and blanket or make you go to the store and get some candy?
Oh, often.
So share some stories about
often.
that. I talk to Paris every day, so I can only imagine her, trying to manipulate a situation. I love you, Paris.
They were certainly good at asking us, Daddy wants you guys go pick up some dog treats.
Okay.
Not a problem. Oh, yes, and don't forget some chocolate chip cookies. And we're like, dog, you chocolate chip cookies.
Right.
So we would go get whatever. And then later on that day, or maybe the next day, Mr. Jackson would be in the vehicle, probably going on a detail, and he would ask, which one of us brought the kids chocolate chip cookies?
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, quiet, like, because I don't want to say it was me.
So, you didn't want to get in trouble.
No, like what was wrong? He said not to buy them. He said don't let them fool you, into getting them snacks and treats. He said don't let them fool you. If I only let me tell you guys what you're gonna get them, because he was certainly very careful of their nutrition. Very, very so.
Well, he seemed like he was a very strict father and had them on a program.
I wouldn't say strict, firm, definitely. But hey, he had to take care of 3 kids by himself. So you couldn't, be lackadaisical as he was not. So he certainly was very attentive to, their upbringing and nurturing, and certainly education was a big thing for them. Because they had a homeschool and had a teacher that traveled with us. We had inside the house. We had one room that was
a class
set up like a classroom. So he made sure that they were at school. School started at 8 o'clock, 8 a.m.
And so were they in there all day, like 8 to 3?
The school, they were there they were with the school teacher from maybe like 8 to 3:30, but they did different activities. Whether we would go to here in Las Vegas when we had the bodies exhibit.
Okay.
So we would take the kids there, and they would every one of their projects. just to go to the bodies exhibit. And when they had the Titanic exhibit,
Okay.
things like that, that was part of their learning structure. So a lot of history, certainly.
So you're in a fraternity. You want to give a shout out?
Yes, Omega Psi Phi.
Omega Psi Phi. Omega Psi
1911.
Phi. That's his fraternity, so we want to shout those brothers out.
Right.
So when did it get to a point where it seemed like you and Javon were being pushed out and others were starting to take over the security detail?
But it really came more to once the This Is It tour started to form into itself and the rehearsals, and we knew this show was going to take place overseas. We wanted to make sure before we traveled outside of this country
Right.
that our financial stability was intact,
Okay.
or just contract wise and payment wise. And that was something we were talking to Mr. Jackson about, and he was pretty much assuring us, promising us, don't worry, that everything will be taken care of. And we trusted him as he trusted us. So, and one thing we were not used to dealing with was, because for the whole time that we was with him, very few lawyers and attorneys, managers, maybe one or two that we dealt with. But once the show started to form itself,
and here come the team.
Everybody
yeah,
everywhere that wanted to be part of the show was calling, different attorneys. So we just started to see, and he even said it to us. He said, "Watch, guys, now you're going to start to see the vultures coming." Though I didn't understand that statement.
But I mean, here's the thing. With me, I don't want it to seem like Michael was the victim and that, everybody was doing all this stuff to him, because at some point, Michael Jackson also has to take responsibility for his part in it in terms of delegating situations. And he was so overwhelmed, that at some point you got to put your foot down. He didn't have to allow those vultures in his circle.
I didn't, what I noticed, people that he hired, whether it was attorneys, managers, to handle certain projects, they brought in people. And they brought in people.
Yeah.
It was so huge.
It was huge. You just can't.
I recognized that Mr. Jackson was going to try and control the one thing he could control, and that was the way he performed.
His artistry.
And everything around him when it came to perform. On the business matters, there were people that he put in place to handle those matters. So I didn't expect him to jump off the stage and run over here and tell the manager something. No, I didn't expect that at all. He did make phone calls. I knew who to deal with, but yeah, there were some problems with record labels and different businesses that he had going on.
Anybody got any questions? Okay, so she wants to know, what year were you? That's Karen from Detroit. What years did you work with him? Was it 06 to 09?
06 to 09.
Okay, and because you stopped when he moved to LA, when he left Vegas and went to LA to get ready for the This Is It
Not
tour?
necessarily.
Okay.
Not necessarily. What people don't see or realize, there's more work that we do outside of Mr. Jackson. Okay. So where he was going to stay in London,
okay,
we had the map structured and the whole security layout of that house. My job there was to ensure what security we were going to use out there, where the cameras were going to be, what security company we were going to use to monitor. So those are things that I was dealing with.
Now, there are reports and stories that, there were times where Michael would stay in different hotels, and then they had to make him leave because the bill wasn't being paid or the credit cards weren't working. Did you experience some of that with him?
Yes.
Okay, so was that, again, management, just mismanaging things?
Of course.
Okay. Because I mean, as me, as a journalist and a talk show host and trying to figure out, I'm like, well, why does somebody just call the president of the hotel and say, hey, listen, give us free room and board and we'll do some autographs?
Because the last thing we want is his name out there like that. That's the last thing we want.
Yeah, I get that.
You call a major hotel, you tell the president, this is my client, and we have a financial mishap at the moment. He's going to take that news and run with it.
Well, no, I don't think you had to say that. It's just an art of negotiation. Like if you want Michael Jackson to come to your hotel and do some autographs, there's a free room.
That was negotiated. I did not think that was
Right. No, I was just wondering where were all of the solutions and options to get you guys out of that situation.
I don't know how it was being handled. I just don't.
Yeah.
I went off a straight phone call or something. So you guys have to leave and need to go to another location.
So was there any, because in the film, the young man that came to take over in terms of working with Mr. Jackson when he was in LA, was there any animosity between you?
No.
In this?
Not at all.
Like there's a scene where he like I'll take that. He took where he took the suitcase of money.
No, me and Michael and me and
Yes.
him had a great relationship, great rapport.
Okay.
We both was in the same boat. In fact, he's been working with Mr. Jackson.
Okay.
They've been working on a film project.
Okay. Right.
So when it came to the lack of pay, he was in that list to not have been paid too. So.
Jovan, at some point, he got really, really frustrated. And I know you were frustrated. And he was young, and, he was like, okay, look, we just got to be calm. Was there any point in time during your working with Michael where you all may have thought or may have wanted to suggest, well, look, I know this is emergency money, but can you give us some of it because you owe us some money?
That would be very unprofessional.
Right. Okay.
It wasn't. Again, we didn't see him as the solution to our problems.
Well, you know what? You have a point because the CEO of Walmart doesn't handle payroll.
Correct.
Okay, so you got to go to the payroll department.
Right.
And then you handle it from that perspective. But I'm the kind of person, hey, if I got a problem with human resources payroll, I'm going straight to the top. But that's my personality because I just think that, this is one of the things that I want people to get out of this is that Michael was the kind of man that if he was going to be a person to inspire others and people look up to him and we are continuing his legacy, you not only want to learn from the great contributions he made into the world, but you also want to learn from his mistakes. Michael said, go and do it better than me. When he interviewed with Barbara Walters, he said that, and she said, is it possible to do it better than me? And doing it better or greater is learning from the mistakes or the choices that he made that might not have been the best thing for his career and avoiding that. Because this is not just about Michael, it's all the artists in the entertainment industry.
One thing I've often tried to, even we're writing the book, and I didn't want to get too deep on the financial mishaps that we went through, but I did want to kind of point out to other artists, if this can happen to someone on the level of Michael Jackson, it can happen to you.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest things was on the financials, which Mr. Jackson even said at one time, I know we were somewhere, and he said, Bill, always try to pay attention to your finances.
Yes.
Now
I'm so glad he told you that.
We can easily try to do that, but when you had an empire as huge as Mr. Jackson, it's huge. It's money all over the place. Yeah. Several people are responsible for certain entities of the managing and the money.
Aspects,
so it was huge, but what it comes down to, I don't look at too many things where he made mistakes that could have been different. Because when you put a level of trust in someone, you're not wrong for doing that.
Right.
I'm not wrong for trusting you. You're wrong
for damaging that trust.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you're wrong for that. And so there was a lot of that going on, but there was a lot of that going on behind the scenes that you really just weren't aware of. I mean, so it was hard, but there were people that he trusted that just didn't do their jobs.
Did he really look at you? But when in the scene where he said "nice suit," did that really happen?
Oh yeah,
you told him to come in this suit.
Absolutely.
So what did Michael think about the suit? He had a pimp suit on.
His looks at it all. I think he's used to seeing security in dark colored suits.
Nice suits.
And I think it was more of an attention. It stood out, but but classy. But it just probably wasn't for that detail. Javon was pretty much new to a detail to this magnitude, so he just knew suit.
Okay. Well, what I want to do with you, Phil, now, because you knew Michael in ways that a lot of people didn't know, but I want to see how well. I'm going to ask you some questions.
Sure.
And I want to see how well you know. What was Michael Jackson's favorite store?
Favorite store?
Mm-hmm.
I can only go through the stores that we went to. It wasn't that we ever had a conversation. He said, "Hey, this is my favorite store," so that I didn't know.
The Salvation
you know,
Army.
Here, we've never been to the Salvation Army.
But he
So
said it was his favorite store.
That I wouldn't know.
You wouldn't have guessed that one.
I would never guess that one. Wow, Salvation Army.
Yeah, he actually was in the limo going back to Gary, Indiana. And he's like, look, the Salvation Army, my favorite store.
Oh, okay. No, I never didn't know that.
Yes. Okay, so in 2001, Michael was celebrating his 43rd birthday, and he was invited to Wall Street to open up the market. He was the first African American musician that did what to open up the market?
In 2001?
Yes.
I didn't meet him in 2006.
I know that, but you don't have to have met him to know the answer to the question. What do they do when they open up the market?
They ring the bell.
That's what he did.
Oh, okay.
He rung the bell.
Okay.
Okay. Name a Stevie.
Oh, you know what? That was in 2001?
Yes. It was during the time of the 30th anniversary special that he did in New York with his brothers.
Isn't that like September 11th? Around that area?
Yes, it was around that time.
Yeah, I did.
Well, actually, it was August 30th, 2001.
Okay.
He had just turned 40.
He was still in New York at that time.
Yeah, he was in New York.
I understand there was some form of confusion trying to get him out of New York.
Yeah, there was a lot of confusion. It was always drama with Michael. They were trying to get everybody out safely, and yeah, but that he rang the NASDAQ bell prior to September 11th, the performance. And it was a lot of drama with the show too. You know, David Guest was the producer, and you know, just different people. Michael, like, have you? I'm sure you've seen Michael One, but they have. You haven't seen Michael One? Really?
I don't do Michael Jackson shows,
okay.
No.
And I get it, but they have a letter that he wrote, and he had different names of the people that he wanted on the show. So yeah, I mean, when it comes to show business, there's always some type of drama that's going on and things of that nature. So when it was moving closer to the time that he was about to get out of his body, it seems like, you know, you and Jovan were very concerned about him. And did you have any, you know, weird feelings like, you know, something is not right about this, or, you know, because I know he was, Sherlyn Lee, Dr. Sherlyn Lee is a very good friend of mine who was his personal nurse. And he asked her for the propofol, and she said, I'm not giving it to you. So did you feel like there was something going on where it was like all these handlers, and was he looking healthy? Because he looked like he was really tired and really sick. You know, what did you feel at that time?
Well, I've been asked that question before, and he's always looked the same to us, but we can also tell that he was tired.
Yeah.
But the tired that I felt he was stressed.
Okay.
And it just my phone. A lot of people that had to reach in went through me.
Right.
So they'd call my phone, and I got a lot of calls from this one and that one, and I would tell him who they were, who's on the phone. He would say, "Take a message." But
did he do that with Joseph?
just that one time.
Yeah, okay. He was trying to let Joseph have it.
Well,
did Joseph really curse you out?
Yeah.
And you didn't curse back?
That wouldn't have been professional.
Right.
So,
I'm so unprofessional sometimes, y'all. I try not to be, but you know the South Side of Chicago gonna come out and be something at some point.
You know, when you're in a position like that, you have to maintain a certain level of professionalism.
But I mean, well, see, right, and that was your experience, because my experience with Joseph was different than yours. My experience was he was looking at my breast, and I had to tell him, they off limits to you.
Okay.
So it was a little bit different than, you know, your experience. But it's like,
definitely different.
and that moment to get cursed out by Michael Jackson's father, I mean, how did you feel? I mean, that was just so awful for him to have done that to you.
Well, I immediately said, he's not mad at me.
Right. So you got in the mindset of, he's mad at his son and he's taking it out on me.
Well, I don't know who he's mad at,
Okay.
but he's not mad at me because I just met you.
Yeah.
You and I haven't interacted enough for you to be mad at me. Because I don't, he was mad at something that had to do with this Michael Jackson world, and it had nothing to do with me. So
but the scene in the movie, he was trying to come in the house.
Well, he wanted to see
his son, and you gave him the card and said, call and make an appointment, and then he got offended.
I told him to give me a call, and I can make sure that you get in to see him tomorrow, and he got offended.
Right. So did he eventually get in to see him? Did Michael see him eventually?
Yeah.
Okay. So did he really call Joseph? I guess the movie is real, but Randy, you know, to get make Randy leave, because he said there's only one person that can deal with him.
This one's yours right here, right? Is it okay if I put it right here?
Sure.
And then do you need these papers right here?
Like, we in the middle of an interview, and here you come. That's okay. I love you anyway. We got the server still trying to clean up in here. So, because in the film, you know, you hear a voiceover. It's like, well, I guess Joseph was helpful with that because he got Randy to leave.
We called him.
Okay.
You know, we
Did Michael ask you to call Joseph? Okay. See, and that's what I'm saying. Films, you know, they kind of exaggerate because the film made it seem like he said there's only one person that can handle him, and then the next thing you know, Joseph shows up. So that was just the way the filmmaker decided to go in that direction, or the producers.
I really felt he was talking about his mom.
Okay.
Because no one denied him. No one.
Okay.
Okay. So no one. Like,
well, why didn't they portray it that way, though?
You know, to make you think.
To
make you think. That's all. As it did.
Yeah, I know. And you know, that's so interesting that you said that, because when we do the tributes in Gary, it's like they should be of a higher caliber because he was the epitome of entertainment. And I said, you know, if Mrs. Jackson would pick up the phone and call some of these people, Beyonce or Usher or Neo, and ask them to come to Gary and do it, who's going to say no to Mrs. Jackson? And it's just never happened. You know, we do what we can over there. But, you know, hopefully when we're getting ready to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of the birthday. So.
But one thing I see from that is the same as dirty accusations. Where are all these celebrities, man?
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't call nobody if you're not coming out in defense of me. Mm-hmm. What am I going to call you actually to come do a performance for me?
That's true.
No, so I don't see too much of the celebrity base speaking in defense of him. I just don't see it, because I personally don't think a lot of them did not know him personally. Mm-hmm. You know, people want them to speak up for him, but all they knew was Michael Jackson, the entertainer. They didn't know Mr. Jackson, the man, the person, the father. They didn't know, so who they speaking of.
And, you know, since this Lying Neverland came out, you know, there have been a few that have been on social media defending him. But I just feel like it really needs to be more support. There were so many people that were, you know, coming out when it came to other things, but then now he really needs you to defend him. Where are you? You know, and that's been a question that is just so much in that dynamic. It's like, where is everybody? I mean, the protests. I mean, it's like I'm looking at how a group, the Me Too movement group, got together and protested Sony to fire R. Kelly and get him out the label, and it worked. And I'm like, well, where is the group to support Michael Jackson and get Sony to threaten HBO and say, if you show that movie, we're going to pull our music catalog? Because I don't know if you know this, Bill, but back in the 80s, when MTV was not playing Michael's videos, Sony called MTV and said, if you don't play Michael Jackson's videos, we're going to pull our entire catalog from your network. So it's like, where is that kind of support? Sony has made so much money off of this man. Why didn't they get involved? Because they were actually one of the sponsors of the Sundance Film Festival. And all of the sponsors of the Sundance Film Festival, they're sponsoring the entire festival. And they have nothing to do with the content.
Right.
Anybody can submit their film to be in the Sundance Film Festival. And sponsors have nothing to do with the content. They stay out of that part. Okay. But because of what happened, there should have been some type of dialogue and some type of like, wait a minute, you know, this is one of our artists. We're not going to support that. And then HBO, like Sony could have easily said, we're going to pull our music catalog if you show this movie. The estate could have come out and told everybody, cancel your subscriptions to HBO. We did a protest online and had people cancel their HBO subscriptions.
Well, one thing I've noticed being in this business is controversy sells.
Yes.
And that's has a big deal to a lot of success for a lot of these networks. When I first pitched the idea of trying to get a movie deal, a book deal, we were turned down by 36 publishers because we were told that our book did not contain enough controversial information.
Wow.
So I've noticed, whether who's behind the whole Sony, that Leaving Neverland doc, it's a controversial that's selling. Whether it's true or not, it's not about the truth.
It's not.
It's not about the truth. It's about
sensationalism.
Absolutely.
And I saw your tweet because you and I were on the same page. You tweeted, no, he didn't say Michael Jackson's hair felt like a Brillo pad. And I was like, let me debunk that for you guys right now. First of all, what drippy ass greasy Jerry curl do you know that feels like a damn Brillo pad, okay? Michael Jackson had enough grease in his hair to fry some Harold's chicken. There was no way that his hair felt like a Brillo pad. A Jerry curl does not feel like a Brillo pad. And when he said that, that was racist. I'm surprised Oprah didn't pick up on that because you know she happy nappy and gotta have a perm. So that was a very racist statement, and that's another way we knew that he was lying.
We knew, but again, it was not about the truth.
Because the truth doesn't sell.
No, it wasn't about the truth. It was certainly, I believe there's some higher ups that wanted to slander Mr. Jackson's name.
Nobody wants to believe the truth. I mean,
nobody wants to hear the truth.
They don't. They don't want to hear it.
They don't want to hear the truth. I've said to people before, if you put two newspapers side by side, and one that says Michael Jackson innocent, and the other one that says Michael Jackson guilty, the guilty newspaper is going to sell out.
You're right.
People are going to read that. They want to read what he did, all that. But if you pick up the one that just says innocent, that means case closed. Mm-hmm. Moving on. But the one that keeps it going is the controversy. And that's what we're doing now. For me, I don't like talking about it. I don't like talking about the document.
No, we don't. We can move on. I just wanted to, make a point that, we were kind of on the same page. And you saw, there's so many people who, we in the community, because I produce a lot of tributes. I work in house music. That's why I wear my house. And this is my little Michael house.
Wow.
And I'm the Madam Ambassador of house music.
I didn't even see that.
Yeah, you a house head? You like house music?
I didn't see that right there, but I see it now.
Yeah, I wore this the other night when we took pictures.
You know what? I probably
Did you like house music?
I was looking at your pretty face.
Oh, so she said I'm pretty.
I didn't know. I didn't. So. Okay.
Yes, I am.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, this is actually my off-the-wall dedication house. He had the little bow tie.
Okay.
So
yeah.
I have a Prince house too,
Okay.
and that one's purple. But this is August 10th will be 40 years of Off the Wall. But, going back to telling the truth about him, I've told people, I said, look, he was an African-American man. He loved women. He liked plus-size girls. He smoked weed. Sometimes he smoked cigarettes. He liked Jack Daniels and wine. And they're like, I don't believe that. I'm like, you didn't know him. He's shaking his head. Yeah, see? He don't want to tell all the secrets, but he know I'm telling the truth. I knew that man. I knew him by his spirit. No, I love the hot sauce and fried chicken.
Oh, Well, he did love hot sauce. That's
I know he took it everywhere he went.
Sure did.
You know, Quincy Jones does that. He takes all.
Yeah.
I think it's a Midwest thing. People from Gary and Chicago, they just take their hot sauce. Because I brought man with me from Chicago too.
Wow.
So let me ask you that. Did you guys ever talk about his music in terms of, you know, Quincy was such a influential person, you know, with if it wasn't for Quincy, he probably wouldn't have had the success he had. Did you guys ever talk about his relationship with Quincy Jones?
One thing we did not do, and you realize it in the world of personal security protection, you don't bother the client with what he's already bothered with.
No, but did he ever discuss anything with you like that? Because it seems like y'all became his friend, though.
And we talked about things outside of music.
Okay.
Talking about life, raising kids, weather, places to visit.
So listen, I need you to tell me, was Paris a handful? Because she sure is a handful now.
You know,
she driving her mother crazy over here.
Those they were 3 active kids.
Okay.
Each had 3 different personalities and smart though.
Yeah.
So they were active. They were very active, boisterous, spoke a lot, talked a lot, especially Prince. Prince used to ask a lot of questions.
He is. I'm so proud of Prince. He's very intelligent.
I mean, he used to say things to, you know, we'd just be driving and put us on a spot in front of his father. You know, Bill, do you know how many moons Jupiter has?
What would Michael say?
And he wouldn't say anything.
He was like, I'm not getting into that conversation.
Put me on the spot like that. Like, nah, I don't know.
And you know, he just graduated from college, and I'm so proud of him.
Yes, very proud of him.
So did Paris, did she really have a fit when she got sick and Michael was trying to feed her the chicken soup and she just didn't want it and started acting like a baby?
I remember they had the flu.
Yeah.
And they was in bad shape for a little bit. And that's when the call was made to have a doctor come to the house.
Yeah. And that doctor was Dr. Murray.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, well, we don't even want to go there with that. No, but I just was wondering because I watched that movie very carefully, and they were kind of slick because I found in 3 scenes like the real pictures of they kind of slick and kind of snuck in some pictures of Michael that the real Michael. They did have like the fake pictures up there, but there are some scenes where those were really his pictures. You got to go
hanging on the wall.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was wondering about that because, you know, his estate is just so adamant, right. And just to educate people, one of the because a lot of people are trying to understand why didn't the estate sue Lying Neverland, and the reason they couldn't sue is because if it falls under news and documentary, it's First Amendment. But if it's a scripted movie, such as Searching for Neverland, they really have to clear those images. But the way they did it, they mixed it in with Navi's interpretation of Michael and then the real Michael. So the estate probably just didn't catch it, but they may catch it now since I hasn't told everybody. But we don't, it's over with now. We don't care.
Well, we wish the estate supported us more with a movie as well as my book is concerned. Because I don't know whether they thought it was going to be a slander book or not. Probably they did. A lot of people thought it was.
But see, Bill, that's where, and let me say this, and I'm not trying to make anything racist, but what I noticed, and I love Joe Vogel. I met Joe Vogel and had several conversations with him. He wrote 4 books about Michael Jackson. He never met Michael Jackson, but the estate has his books on their website. You, on the other hand, was his security detail. You were respectful. You put out something very positive, and they should have picked it up and been more supportive. I mean, and from my understanding, the children even said that Searching for Neverland was very, very real. It was everything that they had been through. Okay, and oftentimes when you shoot a movie, it's exaggerated or it's not exactly the truth.
When we first when the movie was finished, one thing I did tell the directors that we have to show this movie to his mom.
Yes.
And if she does not approve of this movie, I'm not approving it. I won't give approval, police approval. So the mom was shown the movie.
Okay.
We know she cried.
Yes. Oh gosh,
So,
I know it was something for her.
so that was. I'm glad it it was accepted there. Again, I just wish the who knows, maybe the state will back us, and because I would love to keep it moving, keep it pushing, and
Well, you know we're gonna support you and Javon Bill, no matter because you guys
the
were
fan
real.
support. It's one of the reasons why we did the movie and book. Certainly, my reason for having it.
Well, I have to say supporter. I don't like the word fan because it comes from fanatic. So I would say I'm a Michael Jackson advocate, warrior, supporter. They can call themselves fans. That's fine. But you know, in the fan community is very divided, and I just kind of want to touch bases on that. I see a lot of people in the community not continuing his legacy the way he would want it, but they're being selfish and doing what they want to do. Well, what's your take?
I just want to see everybody.
You don't want to get into that.
To support Michael Jackson's legacy.
Yes.
And keep his name thriving in a positive light. And you know that's all I'll keep doing. I'll keep speaking on his innocence of the character of the man that I knew.
You were at Forest Lawn on Tuesday.
Yes.
I don't know how we missed each other. I was on the microphone hosting the ceremony.
I heard you.
He heard me. and we didn't even know because we've spoken in the past because I had reached out to him to see if he would resume his position and come and help Paris. And when Paris, as soon as she can, she's in New York now doing some modeling and signing some contracts, and she'll be coming back to LA. She plans to come to Chicago. And she told me when she's able to get, her empire together, that she definitely would love to have Bill back. And this was the 10-year anniversary of Michael Jackson passing away. And traditionally at Forest Lawn, the group has a prayer circle, and they have an order on how they do things. They start the prayer circle, and people open it up with a prayer or spiritual affirmation, and then they go around and find out how many people, where they're from, and then they do a moment of silence. So I did an order of service. I wrote everything down, and I brought a microphone and a speaker, and half of the fans out there got mad at me for that. And I'm like, when I talked to you on the phone, I was explaining to you what happened, and I said, this is Michael Jackson. You can't be haphazardly doing something disorganized. And you agreed with me.
Well, I agree that, to have, everyone meet out there,
and you need a microphone so they can hear you.
I've never been.
Yeah, that was your
before,
first time.
So I wasn't sure. I couldn't honestly say a microphone was needed or not needed. I don't
right,
know.
Because you weren't there before. Right.
And for me, I met quite a few fans out there, supporters, but I didn't. It got to a point to where I kind of stayed on the outskirts of the crowd, and a few people recognized me, and I did take some pictures and some autographs and speak a little. But I didn't want that to be the focal point.
Right, you didn't want to be a focal point. You wanted to keep it what it was.
Once I seen a lot of, at one point I looked to my left and I saw a line of people getting in line to take pictures with me. And that's when I said, this is not what I came to do.
Right.
So I took those pictures of everybody that was on that line. It was about 12, 15 people. I took pictures, and once that line died down, I kind of backed up.
Did you have an opportunity to speak to the news at all? Because I called the news.
Someone from Inside Edition asked me a few questions.
Okay.
I got quite a few calls. I'm still getting calls from out of the country.
That's Well, and that's another thing. What I wanted to explain to people, I sent out press releases to the news because I wanted the media to come and show how he is still loved, he is still supported, he has not been muted, he has not been canceled. And with all those people out there, that's the impression that you got, that it doesn't matter about people accusing him of something and lying on him. We still stand with this man, we still support him, we still love him, and we believe in his innocence.
Absolutely.
And that's the purpose of the media being out there. Now, however they wanted to spin it, because of course they're going to show all the people loving and singing and interview Bill and whoever else they can interview that knew him or that was a celebrity. And then they're going to take their spin and start talking about the movie and the documentary and all that. That's the news. That's what they do. My goal was I want people to see that he is still loved and supported, and you're never going to take that away. It's just like in Gary, whether the city plans anything or not, those people will get a sound system and a speaker, and they will run up and down 2300 Jackson Street singing and dancing, and the police can't do nothing about it. You cannot stop people from celebrating this man. Now, some people felt like, well, you shouldn't be dancing and singing at a cemetery. Well, who are you disturbing? Everybody is dead. You know?
I think it was the proper place to celebrate him.
The people get married there. They have events at Forest Lawn.
I really think it was certainly a great turnout. It was so good to see that, and I wish the news can see it from the perspective that,
Right.
From everyone there. I'm like, how could this man be guilty of anything that they are speaking of,
Mm-hmm.
and have a following like this?
Exactly.
I said his fans, know him.
Yeah.
They know him. I think a lot of them know him better than I knew him, but they know him, and I think that's one of the reasons.
Well, in the movie, they were hugging and kissing on you because he told the police not to bother them, and they were happy when you came out. And
so I've had some real interactions with the fan base several times, because they always knew where we were. They always knew when we would go places, and he recognized a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people he would say, I knew that one from Germany, or I know that one, from different countries. That one's okay. He knew his following, and they became a layer of security for me.
Okay.
But they would let me know sometimes. They were like, that guy over there or that person over there, if we don't know them. Because a lot of the fan base knew one another.
Yeah.
And anytime someone showed up that was new, if they didn't know, they would let us know, and they became a suspect.
Right.
We didn't know where.
How respectful is the community to you on social media? I mean, have you been attacked by some of the fan community?
There's some people out there that disagree with having written a book, disagree with having done a movie.
But disagreement is one thing, but have they attacked you and said?
Oh yeah, certainly.
Okay.
They've had some choice words, but.
So how do you handle that? You just ignore it? You don't respond, or?
I weigh it. I weigh the side of those that are appreciative of my work, and those that are just speaking on the negative side. So that the positive outweighs the negative, so I don't let it go.
So for you, at this point in your life and your career, because you're still doing security for various VIP clients, he won't tell me. I'm like, who was you with last night? He wouldn't tell me. And you know what? I respect that, because that's his job, to do security and keep his mouth closed, and that's why Michael trusted him. But you said earlier, you hadn't seen Michael once, so and you don't have to, and I get that. But I'm just curious to know, what is your relationship in terms of even though Michael's out of the flesh, what is your relationship with the Michael Jackson conglomerate at this point? You just moved on. You don't see shows. You don't have anything to do with it. You just listen to his music. I mean, where do you stand in that?
I will continue to support, again, the character of the individual that I knew. Okay. And I'm on social media looking to see what's being said, what's being memorized at, and so I look at social media just to see what people are saying, and if I see anything that's on a negative aspect, I'm gonna weigh in on it. I'm certainly gonna, speak on what I believe, and keep following not just his innocence, but the true, natural innocence of the character of who he was. So I'm certainly a defender. I've said it before. I defended him in life, and I'll continue to defend him in death.
And I think that's a great way to close this out, y'all. That was awesome. Now, one last question. Are you available for hire to be security for people?
It all depends.
You're selected.
Yes.
Okay. Will you protect Mother Diva? Do I need protection?
It all depends.
It all. Oh, honey, you throwing shade.
Well, like I
Curtains.
said, doing what I do depends on people's situation and why that person needs security. If you tell me, I've had situations where people call me to they need security for some corporate
Well,
CEOs.
somebody may want to try to steal my house.
Well, no,
Nobody gonna take that.
house.
They're not gonna get this house.
No. People call me. I need to know why you need security.
Okay.
I don't want to provide my services when there's a situation that you brought upon yourself.
That is very smart, and I know that you'll be there for the children if they need you.
Absolutely. Oh, in a heartbeat. Absolutely.
That is great.
Absolutely.
Well, you all have gotten a treat today. I want to thank our sponsors again, michaelpriv.com, Ellis over at Studio Referral Services, studioreferral.com if you need a recording studio. And I want to thank Bill Whitfield for taking time on his schedule to come and talk to me on the show. You can tweet him. What's your Twitter handle?
I am Bill Whitfield.
I am Bill Whitfield. You're also MJ Bodyguards as well.
MJ Bodyguards also.
Okay, and you're also on Facebook.
Also on Facebook, it's Bill Whitfield.
Bill Whitfield, you heard it first. And we're going to get out of here, honey, because I got to go get me some rest. This whole trip has been 2 weeks. I am tired. Me and the house are going to retire. I'll see you guys back in Chicago at the Daily Plaza real soon. House hallelujah, and we out of here.